Previously on Spiritual Warfare.
Back in place, and I'm all up in your face with a rhyme that I embrace. Like a mother to her child, I'm kicking it Jesus style. To the ones that think they heard, I did use the J word, cause I ain't too soft to say it, even if DJs don't play it.
Well, hello once again, and welcome back to Nathan Plays Spiritual Warfare. My name is Nathan, and this is Spiritual Warfare for the Nintendo Entertainment System. In the last episode, we cleared out the downtown area, found ourselves a key, as well as the Breastplate of Righteousness. It's been a few weeks for me. And afterward, we had a choice about whether to move on to the slums, the houses, or the district in the lower left that was blocked off by what appeared to be gang members. So for this episode, I decided to go clockwise, start with the slums, and see what I could find in that area. Right off the bat, I was disappointed to find that continuing didn't set me back to the start of the downtown area where you cross in from the park. It actually just, you pick up wherever you left off. Which is weird because when you lose all your hearts and you continue, it will kick you back to the start of the area, but not this time, I guess. So I had to backtrack all the way across the roofs, down through the building, and once again, past this amazing formation of businessmen running back and forth. This time I cleaned up pretty well with the apples, as you can see, but I mostly stick to the pears. I'm just not thrilled about the apples and their slowness. All obstacles out of my way, it was time to head into slums and explore the area. So right off the hop, you can see a couple of new enemies there, some bikers, and when we head in this into this nearby building, there are more of these plumber enemies. So we'll get them out of the way. Looks like you're stuck there, and I wasn't quite sure if I had done something wrong. So after a brief bit of experimentation, I struck inspiration and used a vial on that bit of wall there. The rest of the area, as you can see, is pretty straightforward, although I managed to pooch it all the same. Accidentally pushed that barrel over and had to leave the area and come back, try again. This time I was a lot more careful, and actually made the discovery that you can set off the vials and by staying on the square you're on. I thought I had to back up before. I know they don't hurt me, but I wasn't sure if the shot would connect to set them off. Turns out it's fine. Through that doorway, we get a whole mess of explosives here and some more plumbers. See if we can't apple our way through this. Although I didn't actually switch there, which is kind of irritating. Open up the menu again. It is slow, but as we pointed out in previous videos, the apple does travel through things, which is very useful in certain situations. After finishing the rest of this devastatingly clever puzzle, I ended up in the other corner of slums. So the whole thing was kind of a warp, I guess. As I'm now basically in the upper right of the northeast, I suppose, of the area. Here's another train station. This individual outside says the torch can be found in the junkyard. Oh, torch, you say? Curious. Do they mean that in like the fire sense or like the British sense of flashlight? Just for funsies, I decided to stop back in at the train station, just take a quick look around, make sure I couldn't get in, which I cannot. But again, we'll be seeing some more of that later on as we fast travel around the entire game. Here we have some slow then fast enemies with bottles there. Sort of tricky to get near enough to convert. Not too bad. And a puppo. Let's convert him. Ah, he doesn't convert. Oh, no. So it turns out, well, I don't know if all dogs go to heaven, but they're not listening to me. You can use the fruit to aggravate them and make them charge you, which does get them out of the way, but they refuse to be converted by the fruit of the spirit. You'll need the boots to cross the burning rubble. And toward there looks like bars, possibly a prison or something. So after backtracking through that junk area, I came down on the other side of that wall. Kind of odd that there are stone walls in a city, you might think. Here there's a gunfight in progress. I managed to break up one side of it, but unfortunately the other fella hasn't figured out that it's over and continues to shoot massive bullets for no reason in particular. There are also these very zoomy and dangerous bikers kind of ripping around here. Now, the bicyclists in the park, I was making a joke earlier that they were dangerous, but these guys actually look like serious business. After taking a little shortcut through a door, here's another hint. Be careful, gangs are fighting in the junkyard. And surely enough, red versus blue is happening right before my eyes. Now, it is possible to kind of wing an apple down there, set it on its course, and dive out of the way. But as you can see, it is also pretty easy to get my head in the way and get shot for my trouble. Happens a couple of times. Not to worry, it's only a couple of hearts off. No big deal. Walk it off. Too bad I can't get those dove points just now. But I have a feeling there may be an item later on that helps me do that. Well, there we are. Gang fight cleared up. Boy, you should have called me in days ago. The fruit can also be used to clean up some of the random piles of junk. But in the next area, the door was locked and I didn't have any keys, so I knew there was nothing more to be done there. Yes, it turns out hurl fruit at your local pile of garbage and it will just explode and disappear. That's a fun real-world fact for you. The developers seem to really enjoy putting these nasty doggos in sort of confined spaces and have to do sort of a song and dance to get around them. Unfortunately, this street ends in a dead end as well, so it was all kind of for naught. I just feel like I have to be careful about checking all the nooks and crannies of slums to make sure I'm not overlooking secrets. As much fun as it is to destroy the garbage, it doesn't really seem to yield anything useful either. But I gotta try. Sort of a longer factory-looking building here, perhaps. Maybe an apartment. Another gang fight has broken out just in front of the building. As usual, the one side doesn't realize that the other is done. Such futility. So let's head inside here, and we have sort of an apartment building with a lot of violence going on. People just randomly sticking their heads out the door and firing guns down the hallway, as one does in an inner city apartment building, I suppose. I guess? Trouble is, these guys are pretty unpredictable. And it's very difficult to get across. I was trying to use the apple at first because of the range, but unfortunately you just can't react fast enough and get out of the way to avoid the hit. Pretty soon I was extremely low on health, and it was one run-in with one of the apartment dwellers there. My day was done. On respawning in the beginning of the slum area, I decided to explore a little bit of a different area before heading back to that nasty apartment building. So here we have some more dogs in sort of a confined space, and you really have to try and outsmart them, which I did not. Obviously, I just tanked right through there. Good job, me. The thing about the pears that I favor so much over the apples is that with fast-moving enemies, you can keep up the rapid fire, as you see. It was time for a little bit of prayer to boost up my health. Things don't drop seemingly a lot of hearts. But unfortunately, this all yielded yet another dead end. I'm sure there is a lesson here for us all. There's also a pawn shop there, you might have noticed, with a sign that lights up in a very similar way to that bar downtown, which is concerning, maybe. Maybe I should have learned my lesson from the last time, I don't know. Didn't seem like there were any little girls around to warn me not to go in there. Traveling north, I decided to head into this building, which yielded sort of an inside slums cross-section area there. There's our gold building and some plumbers running amok. Don't you guys have work to do? Navigating all that just puts me outside here in this junkyard area. More doggos to skillfully avoid. And it seems my prize is a lot of vials. Not much more than that. As you can see, I already have quite a few. So, not really the best side trip ever. Which brings us back to the fateful street and the apartment building of violence. This time I decided to just stick with the pairs, and as there is a little bit of a gap in time, from when people appear, it is possible to sort of wait it out, wait between shots, get as far as you can, and just try and be careful. Still not a foolproof plan by any means, but certainly one that got me through in better shape than last time. For our troubles, we receive a key that can be used to open locked doors. Boy, I had to go through all of that. Well, we did just see a locked door recently, but unfortunately I can't seem to leave the building because the timing just does not work out for me. At a certain point, I decided just to take the hit and roll with it because I was going to be there forever if not. A few more of these winos here to talk to with meekness. And another tantalizing open door. Let's scoop up some points and see what's inside. Well, it's another side-scrolling sort of puzzle there, if you can call it that. Managed to tag myself with the exploding dynamite, which does reach around corners similar to my vials, and so I did have to stop and pray a little bit to regain a couple of hearts. Or just one, I guess. What I discovered here is that the angel questions reset when you turn the game off and on again, and so we'd already seen these, and I decided to just quickly edit past them for the sake of expediency. But as you see, I did pretty well. My prize is another 21 vials, putting me up to 119, and as you can see, I've actually maxed out the number of dove points I'm able to have to 255. And so there was just one last thing to investigate here, and that is the pawn shop. Now, as I said, I was a little bit concerned and kind of weighed my options back and forth if the game was going to steal something else from me as it did with the belt. But I risked it, and it was just fine. As a matter of fact, this is where the belt ends up if you get it taken from you by going into the bar. You have to come back here, all the way around to this corner of town, and buy it back at the pawn shop with dove points. Now, I mean, does that make tons of sense? Anyway. Back in the northern part of the slum area, we're back to this locked door. I do some pretty heroic doggy dodging here. Dog baiting, if you will. Gotta be careful. Sometimes they will just charge on their own without waiting for you to hit them. And we find ourselves inside slums yet again in sort of a baffling ladder complex. I should have let me name the areas in this game. The whole thing is rather a large maze, as a matter of fact. Taking place across 3 screens in sort of an L shape. with the exit at the other side there, but it's going to take a little more walking than it should, I'm going to say. I mean, really, this is just busy work. Come on. It's not even a puzzle to solve, really. But it's fine. I ended up taking a wrong turn here, but I got a few vials for my trouble. Finally at our near our destination with a dangerous cascade effect of dynamite there. What's going to be inside the door? Use this torch to help illuminate your path. Light the torch by selecting it from your item list for 150 points. Man, it's a good thing I've got a lot of doves. So 150 doves later, and I have a torch now in my item select. I can turn on or off. As you can see, the little flame animation lights up there. It doesn't seem to make a noticeable difference right now, but there will be times to use it later on. And with that, I begin my lengthy backtrack to the entrance of this maze. I turned the torch off at the moment because I wasn't sure if it expended itself in some way. And then we cut back all the way to the start of Slums. Our work here in Slums is pretty well done. We can't cross that burning rubble just yet, and so with quite a... that felt like it was fairly efficient, fairly short, and so I decided to tackle houses as well. First we have to get past some more salarymen and one of those dangerous construction guys. Start to rebuild our stock of doves, just in case we come across something else we'd like to purchase. And there's the entrance to houses. There's a businessman or something leaving on his way to work. He got converted. Take that. Houses is not a huge area by all accounts. But it does have some interesting new adversaries there. We have the graffiti punks. We saw the aforementioned guy leaving his house to go to work or whatever. And this house. This is somebody's house, you know? Just typical sort of balloons holding up barrels kind of motif. But I do want that heart container, so sorry about your barrels. I don't know if this is a sin, because it's kind of breaking and entering, but I needed the heart, so here we are. Decided to go up to the backyard, and turns out there's also ninjas here. Yep. For some reason, ninjas are prowling around the backyards of the houses. As they do in any major urban center, I suppose. Here's an old man. Hey, Sonny, you'll need the helmet and the boots to cross here. Well, I don't have the boots, and, or the helmet, I think, for that matter. So that'll be a little while. But that's good to know. Thank you, sir. I made a quick note of it and moved on. Again, since the questions are repeats of last time, I quickly skipped through this part for you. But I nailed it yet again. And down below we have what appears to be one of these, like, self-storage areas, I guess, is what that is. You know, like a U-store, kind of storage lockers. Some stairs down and mysterious in the middle of grass here. Let's take a look. And it's another one of the block-pushing puzzles. Now, I remembered from my childhood that the function of the torch is to show you which blocks you can push and make things quite a bit easier. Unfortunately, as I worked through the puzzle, I sort of did the math and realized that I wasn't actually able to... It didn't look like I'd be able to finish it. I had to try, just to be sure, but I believe I'll need the boots to be able to get across this obstacle. The same as the one in downtown, but I will be checking that one again later. Spoiler alert. Up to the north of that, an extremely large church. Welcome to the church. You can always find help here. If you search carefully, you'll find the boots of the gospel in the warehouse section of the city. Yes, the church functions as sort of a hint area for the game. Also has the rather interesting property that if you leave by the side door, you come out the front door. Actually, you'll find that most churches have that. It's kind of a standard feature these days, just for the sake of convenience for the parishioners, what have you. Now it's time to play in traffic. The cars are impervious to my fruit. It just bounces off, as I suppose it would do. Vials of God's wrath are also ineffective. But I will need to cross this busy highway in order to get to where I'm going. Where do those cars end up? Who knows? Doesn't matter. Don't think about it. So now I've been shot and struck by a car on the same day, repeatedly. Seem to be alright with it for the most part. Develop a little bit of a strategy where for the first part of the screen, you kind of make sure you can dodge oncoming. And as you get to the latter part of the screen, you want to move up so that you can see people coming from behind you. Getting across the highway takes you to another section of houses. With some more ninjas and people leaving for work. Ninja crime really is at an all-time high, isn't it? You know, I just realized I've been stereotyping, actually. Maybe they're not, you know, prowlers or criminals. Maybe they're just, yard work personnel or cosplayers, LARPers. Anyway, there's a nice house at the end of the lane that I decided to investigate. It's sort of nicer on the outside than it is on the inside. And larger. Very strange. The advantage of using the pomegranate is it has a wider range because it travels in a zigzag path. Yes, my first pomegranate is here for 60 of my points. We're going to turn this thing on. Is a fruit of the spirit representing love. And as you can see, it travels in sort of a zigzag. It's a sort of a halfway range between the pear and the apple. Substantially faster, although unlike the other two fruits that I mentioned, I can only throw one at a time again. But it seems to be not bad, all things considered. Worked my way back through traffic, back through houses. Only hit one or two more times. And with that, my work here was done for the most part, for now. Because I had the torch, I did want to investigate that sewer section one more time that we had seen in the previous episode. And which I alluded to briefly, only moments ago. And once inside, and with the torch activated, you can see that there really isn't a way to get across there, unless, again, I probably need those boots. Disappointing, but now we know. So in any case, I decided it was time to end this little adventure for now. I guess next time we'll head through, try to get to the warehouse district and get our next item, as the church suggested. We'll make a careful note of this password and not mistake any O's for zeros, as usual. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next mission.